This time we're going to look at a Marantz CD player. This one was brought in by one of my neighbors that picked it up at a garage sale. And it looks like it's been sitting in a garage for an awful long time. Let's see what we can make of this one. Today I have a Marantz 5-disc CD changer. This is a CC 4300. Don't know anything about it, so let's see what it's doing. I've got the unit powered up. Let's just see what it does. Okay, open. I'll try loading a couple discs. These are both CDRs that I'm going to put in, and I'll see whether it plays. Okay, how do I play this thing? Is it not even detecting that there's any discs installed? Or is it one of these units that's going to start with disc number 1? Looks like it might start with disc number 1 and just go all the way through. The reason it's not detecting the disc is it's an optical sensor, and the lights in the shop are causing an error because it's reading the light in the shop as a reflection from a disc. So it thinks there's 5 discs in it when there's actually only 2, but if the top was on, it wouldn't see light and it would only detect that there's 2 discs. But it kind of looks like it might have been sitting in a garage or something because there's dead bugs in it. And spider webs, I should add. Wonder if that's why it's not working. Wonder if something shorted out. I want to be able to take a look at the optical pickup and see if there's any light coming out of the pickup, but I can't even see it right now. I got to get this clamp out of the way. I don't know whether it comes off easily or whether I have to remove the whole mechanism. It kind of looks like I might have to remove the entire mechanism to get at this. Let's see whether the disc sensor is working. This should shine up an infrared light beam that we should be able to see if I turn off the infrared cut filter on the camera, and it is. So we know that the infrared emitter is working here. This is what detects as it rotates whether there's a disc in that position. Because this whole thing comes out as one assembly. Okay, how does this lift out? Looks like the front panel also has to come off, so let's remove the front panel. So the guy that owns this one doesn't want to spend a lot of money on it. Like everything these days, nobody wants to spend any money. And people wonder why everybody that was in the service business left. Well, the reason why everybody left was because this stuff just isn't worth fixing. Doesn't matter what it is, it's really not worth fixing these days. Nothing is worth fixing, unfortunately. Okay, so that whole mechanism has to lift out like that, just to see what's going on below it. That required taking out screws to hold on the front panel. Now let's what's below here. Okay. But I'm curious whether I'm going to be able to see this thing, trying to read the disc when it's apart. It's got a couple of ribbon cables on here. Could be this ribbon cable that's damaged for one. But I do see the pickup is the lens is lifting, like it's trying to focus, but the motor is never turning on. So it could be a spindle motor fault, or it could be the little switch that detects when the laser is home is bad. That's what I'm going to check that first, because of course that home switch is not indicating that the laser is parked at home. Then it's never going to try to turn on. So I'm just unplugging the ribbon cables here that connect the board, or connect the mechanism to the rest of the chassis, so that I can look at the pickup on this unit. And we'll try cleaning up that switch and see whether that's where the fault might be. Could be the motor, could be the pickup, could be the little switch. It's easy to check the motor for the spindle motor. We'll just give the power supply on here and give it 3 or 4 volts and see whether the motor will spin, which I can do because everything's unplugged, so I don't have to worry about damaging anything. So this motor here is a sled motor, and the sled motor is moving. No problem there. How about the other motor? Will it spin? Yeah, it's spinning okay. So that looks to be okay. The one thing I'm concerned about is this little switch here. We'll try cleaning the contacts on that switch, and we'll give it another shot and see whether it does anything different than it did before. Oh, he's broken out the wick. I can just hear the snowflakes now on there complaining about that, telling me I should have a desolder pump. Which of course is total overkill for this. So there's the switch I'm referring to, this one right here. What this switch does is when the laser assembly is home, it closes to tell the system that the switch is, or the laser is at the home position. And what happens quite often is the contacts in here will get dirty, especially if it hasn't been used for a while, and won't signal. And if it doesn't signal it, then it's never going to start spinning up the disc. I'm going to use some Deoxit D100, and I'm just going to use the dropper tip here to kind of scratch the surface a bit, just to make sure there's no corrosion on here. And then we'll test it with the meter to make sure the switch is working. So I just have my meter in continuity mode, and we'll just test for continuity when I press the switch in. Where is it here? Reattach the switch, or I should say reattach the circuit board with the switch. Let's just take a look under this board here. It's actually not a board, it's just something to support the ribbon cable on. But I just want to make sure that take a look at this and see if there's anything that looks like it's damaged. I can probably measure these two if I remove the connector. Measure the continuity between all these pins, make sure that they're making it through to the other side, because obviously this is kind of a piece of scrap board that they use just to hold the ribbon cable. Yeah, okay. Anyway, let's measure this and just see whether there's any continuity loss between any of these pins, because obviously if we're not getting continuity through, it's going to not work properly. So, and these ribbon cables did fail, especially this one here. You can see where it's been bending right here. The end here, you can see where it's been bending. So I just want to put my meter across here. We'll measure continuity across all of the pins on the other side. Let's see if we get continuity all the way through. And that just could be the way that I'm holding this on, so I'll turn the probe around the other side and do the other ones that had no continuity. The last 5 had no continuity, so we'll try it again now this way. Make sure that I'm holding this on here. So it looks like we do have continuity. So no problem with the ribbon connector. I'll just reseat that. Okay, I'll plug this back in and see if there's been any change made to the operation. A couple of other switches here, but I don't think they'll cause a problem with it not reading. Typically these other switches, when they go bad, the drawer doesn't stay open or doesn't stay closed. Okay, I should be able to test this without putting everything back together, just by powering it up. A loaded disc in slot number 5. Look at this thing to close. Oops. Sticking everywhere as it goes. Okay, let's see if we can select disc 5 and see if it'll play. If I can figure out how to do that. Disc 5, there we go. Is it going to attempt to read? No, it's not. Oh, actually, it is. It's wobbling like crazy. That might explain why it's not working. Look at that wobble on that disc. Did it read anything? Let's see if I push play, what happens. Well, that might be the problem. It almost looks like the disc spindle is bent, doesn't it? The way that that thing's wobbling like that. The disc is clamped in place, but it looks like that's where our fault is on this, is that that disc tray is bent, or that disc spindle is bent. Big time bent. Bent to the point where it doesn't read. If I press play and give it a bit of a spin, it spins up. It's hard to tell from your perspective. I'll bring the camera over a bit just so you can see how much play there is in this. You see the wobble in that? If I press play, it's bad. Like that is, if we look at the disc spindle here, you can see the bend in it, in the plastic. No, I don't think it's the motor that's bent. I don't think it's the motor shaft. I think it's this. Oh yes, look at the end of it. I wonder if I found another one of these from another player, whether this would work. I was going to try lowering this down a bit because maybe it was too high. That might have been why. I mean, this is not fitting very tight to this the shaft. But it might be that the spindle height was a bit off. Let's see if I can adjust this down a bit. Taken the disc clamp off and I've just got the magnet now. As you can see, it's still it's the actual base itself. The little spindle is not level, and it's causing problems. So the problem's actually the spindle, not the motor, but the actual table assembly, and it's broken. And if we look closely, somebody at some point had tried to glue this before, and that's why it's not working. And that's why the guy probably got the thing at a garage sale. I just talked to the guy. He picked this unit up for 50 cents. So unfortunately, he doesn't want to spend any money on it, and even if he did, I don't know where I would go about getting one of these table assemblies. I don't think I'm going to be able to glue it, because that looks like someone's tried to do that in the past. You can see from the base of it here. So I think I'm going to wash my hands of this one now and send it to recycling. And that's what the guy that owned it said. He said, you know, take a look at it. If it's something that's real simple and you can get it to go, great. Otherwise, just take it to the recycling center for me. And I think that's what we're going to do on this one. We're going to send this one off to recycling. So what I'll do before I scrap this is I'll take these some of these flex cables. They're always good to have kicking around because they're hard to get. And most of these come in just standard type lengths, so should be able to keep these ones. And I'll also probably keep the optical pickup out of this unit, and then the rest of this is going to get scrapped. I guess I'll keep the whole mechanism, take the mechanism out from the top, and the rest of this is just going to get dumped. couple of screws to hold in the transport. Okay, I can take it out here. If I pull this, there's a couple of clips here I can pull, and this hole should lift down. The whole transport should pop out of this. I think we clip a clip over here, and another clip on the other side, and this whole transport will lift out just like that. It's a KSS 213. It's a Sony transport. Excellent. It's always good to have Sony transports kicking around. I don't know if the motor is bent or whether it's just the just this piece here that's broken. As you can see, somebody at some point had tried to glue it. So that generally doesn't work, but we'll keep the Sony laser assembly. You never know when one of those will come in handy, and I think it's probably okay. It was just the disc clamp was no good. Alright, well, I guess that's about all for this one. We'll just throw this thing in a box and send it off. I'll kind of stick it together and send it off to the recycling center tomorrow, and we'll be done, and we'll get on to the next one. The thing I'll do on this pickup before putting it in storage is I'll put the shorting pins together here on the back here. This is to protect the laser from any electrostatic discharge. There's a couple pins on the back here that get shorted together right down there. So we'll just short those together. There we go. That will keep the pickup safe. Keep the laser diode shorted.